Political battle lines bled through into the official commemorations at dawn in Northland today. While at Banks Peninsula, the Prime Minister spent the morning with Ngāi Tahu, pushing his growth message and touching on the so-called challenges around the Treaty Principles Bill. From Waitangi, senior political correspondent Jenna Lynch begins our coverage.
Before dawn broke at Waitangi, people gathered to pray. But under the cloak of darkness, this year the prayer turned political.
To renegotiate the terms of a marriage usually requires both spouses to be at the tepu. But it seems our spouse, the Crown, has filed for divorce while we were blissfully unaware.
A not-so-subtle reference to David Seymour's Treaty Principles Bill, receiving a not-so-subtle eye-roll.
Look, there was one address that was highly politicised. If everyone got up and debated like that, it'd be like Parliament.
And some not-so-subtle sledging in return.
It really was a little bit like, in my view, a backbencher's speech from a left-wing politician. Maybe if people wonder why church attendance is in free fall and people are turning away from Christianity according to the latest census, it's because people try and politicise things like that.
Seymour was the most senior government minister in attendance. The program listed the Deputy Prime Minister among those who'd share a prayer, but government seats in the front row sat empty.
Winston Peters was set to give a prayer. No one turned up to do it.
Oh, okay. I'm not aware of that.
The provision was for him to speak.
Yeah.
But he wasn't there.
Okay. Do you know what went wrong?
No, he didn't attend. He didn't attend, so he wasn't there.
Do you think that's a bit disrespectful for the Deputy Prime Minister to not show up?
No, it could be a matter of logistics, I'd say. Winston would never go out of his way to disrespect anything associated with the faith.
The crowd stayed silent for Seymour's very short address.
Very soon we will see the sun rise over the beautiful Bay of Islands, one of the best reminders of why we all love this beautiful land.
Keeping the ceremony civil, saving their thoughts for after the formalities, Tame Iti confronting Seymour as he left. The public disappointed, Seymour didn't stick around to listen.
I'd just really like to say to him if he can be more fair and give us a fair go instead of trying to just abolish those things of te tiriti.
I'm not sure that his ears are turned on at all, actually. Because there's many people who have tried to speak with him one-on-one, on the side quietly, and he's just not listening.
As the bagpiper played and the flag rose with the sun, the tension lifted, but the feeling toward the government stayed low.
My grandmother, Dame Whanikupa, she was a great lady of Muldoon, Norman Kirk. She loved those prime ministers because they did. They worked with us Māori people. But today they're not. They've turned their backs.
No matter the discontent toward politicians, the crowds still turned out. The waiata still rung out. The waka still paddled out. The spirit of Waitangi cannot be crushed.
Further south, Christopher Luxon was received by Ngāi Tahu, who hosted the Prime Minister at Banks Peninsula's Onuku Marae. Luxon's decision to head south has been contentious, but a senior reporter, Juliet Speedy, found out skipping Waitangi didn't mean he got a free ride.
Banks Peninsula's Onuku Marae, Ngāi Tahu's patch, and the place the Prime Minister chose to spend Waitangi Day. An island and a half away from Waitangi itself. Welcomed on with a challenge laid out by the iwi. Flanked by other dignitaries and following Governor-General Dame Cindy Kiro, they were welcomed onto the marae. A subtle nod to Ngāi Tahu from the Governor-General on a Waitangi Day, cloaked in controversy.
My sincerest thanks once again to Ngāi Tahu for your wonderfully warm and civil welcome to all of us here today.
The Prime Minister faced other challenges this week for turning his back on Waitangi, and he clearly wanted to play his cards right today.
The Treaty Principles Bill, of course, is one such challenge, and National has made it clear we will not support the bill and it will not become law. I think national governments have always worked constructively. Yes.
Hundreds gathered outside to hear the speeches, which quickly turned political.
Our major parties are struggling to articulate a political vision that builds on the distinct character of the New Zealand nation. So instead we get an ACT Party neoliberal thought experiment posing as a faux source of moral principle and national unity. And we've seen what that's doing to our social fabric.
Luxon telling media all of Justin Teeper's speech resonated.
There was a lot in Justin Teeper's speech that I fully agree with and represents the philosophy of the National Party. So, as we know, and we've built those relationships over the last year and a half, I think we're in good shape.
Onuku Marae is a place of profound historical and cultural significance. It was here in 1840 that the treaty was first signed with Ngāi Tahu. Over 150 years later, the Crown was back here delivering a formal apology in the same place for breaches of that treaty. But while Ngāi Tahu and the Prime Minister played nice today,
Ngāi Tahu's values and aspirations resonate with those of my government.
There's been a lot of speculation about why you're into Waipounamu rather than Waitangi. Whatever the reasons, personal, political or providential, your presence adds to the significance of our commemorations today, and I want to acknowledge that.
Ngāti Whātua had another view.
I'm more disappointed in the fact that Ngāi Tahu allowed the invite to go ahead, meaning that Ngāi Tahu also is implicated in the fact that they are being used by this Prime Minister to not be at Waitangi.
Ngāi Tahu dismissing the criticism, happy to have the ear of the government.
Any opportunity we have to have the Prime Minister and senior ministers' ears and have their attention here, we'll take that every year.
And this year, they got the hearing they were after.